All right, hey everyone, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Track Walk RC podcast. I'm Travis Kendall and I'm with Colin Branch of Speed Freaks RC, and this is kind of going to start off our new little project here, keeping everything Northwest focused and getting a lot of discussion going for our region and our racers and our events, and we're really excited to bring this to you. So thank you first of all for tuning in. We're super excited to have you here, and can't wait to hear your guys' feedback. We'll start off just real fast here with little introductions in case you guys might not know who we are or don't know a whole lot about us. So my name is Travis. I've been racing in the hobby for about 10 years now, or just about 10 years. Primarily on the 8 scale side was sort of my thing for a long time, and then my family business is SOR graphics or SOR RC products, and so our business is our hobby and vice versa, and that's kind of become our life, and we're full on into it, so that's what we do, and kind of becomes the thing that I live and breathe. And so the Northwest community with that is very important to me and important to our business. So, we're really excited to be bringing this out to you. And then, a lot of people know us from that specific outlet. So it's going to be a pretty exciting venture for us.
Hey guys, this is Colin. Thanks Travis for putting this all together and making this happen. This is going to be hopefully something that's a lot of fun. And we can try to give back a little bit to the Northwest community and try to show off how much talent is here in the Northwest, which I think is very underestimated.
Totally.
So I've been into RC probably for 32 years or something like that. I think I was 12 when I got my first Blackfoot and drove that thing for a very long time, every day. And I've been racing all over the place. Canada, originally from Canada, moved to the West Coast, raced a bunch there, lived in California, Arizona, Portland, and now I'm up here in Seattle, and I really enjoy all aspects of RC. So it's 10th scale, carpet, dirt. 8 scale is my real love, but 8 scale nitro, and so here we are. Hopefully we can maybe have some guests on at some point here to discuss some of our topics, but we have some topics tonight that the two of us are going to discuss, and we'll go from there. Travis, where are we going to start tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really exciting time, I think, in our region right now. This outdoor season is shaping up to be pretty good, pretty exciting. I think there's a lot on the table right now, and a lot of good stuff to be looking forward to. The competition locally is just crazy. It's so good.
It is. I think we're very underrated here in the Northwest. There's a lot of fast guys, a lot of really fast guys, and a lot of them don't travel outside of the Northwest, so some of that doesn't get to be seen outside of our region. So we do have a lot of fast guys here, and it's really a good scene. I really think especially the Nitro 8 scale has recently made a big comeback. It died for a few years and was kind of lame, but I think the last couple of years is really making a comeback with the NCTs, and even at the local level here in up in Skagit. They've got a really good following with the and their new track rebuild this year is going to be it's going to grow it even more. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. It was getting really quiet for a couple of years there in our area, and some places of the Northwest it still kind of is, but yeah, it's been everyone was kind of wondering, I think, for a little bit what was really going to happen with the nitro thing, and at the same time subsequently electric was booming, think some people were wondering if if it really was the time where Nitro was going to kind of fall off a little bit, but yeah, and it came back angry. It's amazing how many you see out there now, and it's pretty cool. And it's I used to swear that I would never do it, and here I am. So no, I'm really excited, and I think it's going to be a big um, it's going to push the area in the right direction. I think it's finally all culminating to where, at least on our side of Western Washington, um, a lot of the tracks are kind of coming together, and it's sort of been rolled into one community. And a couple years ago, it wasn't like that. Each track had its own little group of people, and then on occasion, they'd all go to the NCTs together. And now it's starting to finally get rolled into run. There's been a lot more traveling within the Northwest, and so that's been pretty cool. And I think that's contributed a lot to the growth of the scene. I know you had some people at our last local club race here at J&S Hobbies in Marysville. This past Saturday, you had some people coming from down south, didn't you?
Yeah, there was a few people from the Portland area. Um, Normally, we see the sides come out, Randy and Evan and uh, Jr. from uh,
Yeah.
Moses Lake comes out. J.R. Clark comes out to Die Hard, and those guys have really helped out a lot by coming out and racing with us.
Oh, totally. And yeah, I mean, and that's something a couple of years ago you just were not seeing, and so it's really rolled really a lot of the Washington community into one. You had some people come up from Oregon. I'll give Shannon the shout out now on his first Nitro Buggy TQ. I saw I was reading that in the thread and just following that through the weekend.
uh,
Didn't look like the main went quite as well, but
I,
that's
I
pretty
was
cool
gonna
to
I was
see.
gonna give Shannon a shout out for that, but you beat me to it. He nailed it in qualifying for sure. He had a really good run.
That's awesome. I was pretty bummed to have not been there that weekend.
It was
Um,
a lot of fun. The sun was shining. Everybody was smiling, having a good time. It was great.
oh, that's sweet. No, and that's what it's all about for the eight scale stuff. Totally. So with races, where we're sitting at on the calendar, the closest one of quite a bit of notability is Canada's Big Barn Shootout. It's technically the first round of their what is it? I think their Western Off Road Racing Series. I think that's what the acronym stands for.
I think so. Yeah, WORCS.
Something like that. Yeah, and I'd have to double check because I don't see that branded as much. So it's not as fresh in my memory. So technically, it's the first round of this, but as I understand it, every year I know it's sold out this year, but
Yeah,
it
it's
seems
amazing. They sold, was it 400 entries?
oh yeah, yeah. I think the Nitro Buggy class alone, that's not a sportsman or anything. Like just pure Nitro Buggy, all rolled in one class. Last I looked, had 80 individual entries.
Wow.
Just crazy,
I
you
mean,
know.
the NCTs we see 50.
Yeah, exactly. I do see with this race, and something that I do see is that this race seems to be obviously much larger every year than the subsequent rounds in the series. I don't know if the series falls off a little bit or people don't travel as much up in Canada between those tracks. I know some of them are a little far because I think some of them are over on the other side of the mountains. I'm not as familiar with the territory, um, but I know some of those get kind of smaller turnouts. So this race is, even though being a championship round, seems to seems to have garnered its own individual reputation, and so that's been pretty cool to see.
Yeah, they have a similar series to our NCT series down here,
Right.
and it travels around to. I think they go to Calgary as well. I know they used to back when I was living up there, but I
Right.
know they race in Kamloops. They race. They have a race in Coquitlam, I believe, at their outdoor track.
Okay.
Maybe one over on the island, Victoria or Nanaimo or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. There's one I keep seeing over there. Like I said, I don't see as much. I don't see as much about that series. And I don't know why I don't, because I follow just about everything involved up there. But um, yeah, it's something that I definitely love to go check out. Everyone that, even if it isn't the big barn race, which I was really hoping to make this year. Seems that everyone who has gone, up to those races, regardless of where it's been, has just had a blast. So I'm really hoping to get up there soon.
I did a bunch of those back in around 2000, 2001, or somewhere around there when I was living in the area, and
Right.
they were a lot of fun. They were really a lot of fun. It was competitive. There was some fast drivers. Um, we've got some fast drivers up in Canada now. We've got probably one of the faster is Brady Jansen,
Yeah.
who's really pretty fast. We don't see him that often, but he does come down once in a while. We've got Richard Infante up there, another hot bodies driver
Hmm.
who can lay it down when it counts.
Yeah, absolutely. We got him. I keep like Brian Sir Niels is another good one, and he has quite a bit of involvement in the race itself, that big barn shootout.
Yeah, he's one of the
Um,
organizers. That's right.
yeah, and then I don't know him, but I keep seeing this name in the results. A guy named Peter Tozer. He always seems to be up at the top
Yep,
of
associated
those
driver.
races. Yeah, so I always see him up there every year. I don't think I've ever raced with him or know him individually, but I've always seen him up there. So I figure he's he's pretty decent.
Right. Yeah. No, he's a good driver as well. Um, I think out of Calgary, you've got Gary Flegel as well,
Yeah,
who does pretty decent at these series events.
no, absolutely. It's it's very close, but a different country and all. It's its own secluded scene sometimes, so it's pretty cool. I do recommend, as much as I'm trying to do too, and I haven't been up there yet, but I keep hearing these great things of everyone that travels up north to go to those places and have nothing but good things to say. So I recommend going up there. I hope to soon. Um, Definitely get some cross border action. I think we would love to see that.
Right. Yeah. I'd love to get back up there, but with my passport issues, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm in relatively the same boat, as hence why I'm not going this year.
Yeah. I need to renew my passport.
Yeah, I just need to obtain mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. Well, the last big race we had was Holiday Hangover in Moses
Yeah,
Lake. That was a an amazing race, an amazing race.
it looked like
Lots.
so much fun.
It was probably the best layout I have run on in the Northwest in probably, wow, 4 or 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Their events just keep getting better and better, and they bring up Kevin Jellick from A Main, I believe, to do the
Yeah, yeah.
tracks, and he really outdid himself on this one. It was amazing, and they've learned how to, uh, uh, I don't know, maintain the dirt throughout the weekend to bring grip up. Whereas
Right.
the first holiday hangover was the grip was very low.
Yeah, it was very slick. I remember last year it was really hard to ever get comfortable.
Yeah, well, this year I wasn't even expecting it, and in the main, about halfway in, my tires were done. There was so much grip.
That's
I
crazy.
had underestimated how much grip there was going to be, and my car was a handful at about the halfway point.
No, I can imagine.
Yeah, so they've really got a handle on that, and Justin and those guys do a great job on putting an event together with 200 and I think with the weather it was record setting low temperatures, and
Yeah, it was
even
looked
though
real cold.
it's in an arena, but the air temp inside the arena was it was probably about the same as what it was outside. Not a whole lot of difference. And
Oh wow.
outside, I think we saw as low as 12 degrees or something like that Fahrenheit.
Huh.
Yeah, it was downright cold. But the racing was awesome. Didn't really affect the racing much. The track surface, the grip came up. The layout was amazing. We still had 270 entries, even though it was so
Wow,
cold.
that's awesome.
So yeah, we had Drake come up for that, and Mason Epley was up for
Yeah, so you had a
that.
couple fast guys. You had him, you had Epley, Nick Watlett came up. Um, that was pretty cool to see. It's nice that they keep bringing people up for those ones. So I know Epley was at Fallout too, but I don't know who else had made that one. It's kind of nice. I think it's been refreshing now that since that seems to be their main focus as far as Wildy events and Justin Wildy and Joe Scales and them, their involvement um, seems to have been a fresh addition to the scene, knowing like that that's it's what it looks like. It's going to be 2 races a year, but they really just put it all out there, and I think that's super cool.
Right.
Really, it was definitely they had the advantage, no doubt, of cabin fever going away, which is of course what spurred the demand for it.
Exactly. Yep.
And that was that's a as much as you hate to say it, it's the perfect opportunity, right? And they really made the most of it, and I think that's super cool.
I
With
like that
absolutely
it's
nothing else,
closer
I'd
to
make
us.
more. What's that?
It's a lot closer to us, so I like it.
Also, that yeah, driving to Lewiston in February was not the most fun thing to do.
Right. Right. Yep. But no, they're doing a great job, and I can't wait to see what they come up with for the next one.
Yeah, I hope to make the next one. We'll see. Flaked out of the last couple of big 8 scale races, so I'm hoping that the streak is ended by then. We'll see what happens.
I'm gonna come out and drag you out.
We'll see. I'll put the time off in as soon as it's announced. This is what we'll roll with.
Yeah. Well, so Nitro is making a comeback in the Northwest, and it's really
Yeah.
awesome to see. Nitro's everybody knows that Nitro's my favorite class to run, and everything else is kind of filling time until Nitro season starts. So it's nice to have 2 more events during the winter to kind of hold us over until we can go outdoors and play
Oh,
with the
totally.
play with the
Yeah,
Nitro cars.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone has their preference, I think everyone has sort of where they always naturally come back to. Um, Indoors has always been awesome. As soon, right when the Die Hard RC started happening, when from turf to carpet and everything else. I've never been a big indoor fan. I hated clay racing. I don't think I've been on a clay track in close to 3.5 years. And it took a little bit for me to come around to the artificial surfaces as well, but once I did, it's just amazing how much better of a driver it makes you, but also how fun it was. And I want to throw a little bit of a shout out there to Brett and Brenda Wilson of Die Hard RC, and the whole crew that surrounds them. For making that program what it was, especially this winter. I didn't get to be part of it, a lot of it, but what I was there for looked like just an awesome winter. A lot of progress was made. Such a great community, and finally, I think indoors is more fun now than it's ever been. That being said, it's over now, and I think we're all itching to go outside. I think that's the nice thing is that these winter 8 scale races are awesome. But with showing at JNS, the last 2 races, everyone's ready to get some sun. Everyone's ready to get outside. Just today, actually, too, we went out to the outdoor turf track for Die Hard RC, and there's just being outside and just the weather, and as much as awesome as it was to drive 10 scale out there, today, you get that itch even more that now it's time to burn some nitro, and I think everyone is starting to get a little antsy. I think everyone's ready to go.
Oh yeah, yeah. That whole indoor carpet this winter at Die Hard was unbelievable.
Yeah.
How awesome that was with the amount of entries at every race. I think we maxed out at 190, 195 or something like that for a
Just nuts. Yeah,
for a
that's
regular 1 day
incredible.
club race. kind of thing, and I think
Yeah, and
we averaged 150 or 160, something like that, for the whole season.
oh
So
yeah,
it was phenomenal, and they got through the
well,
program nice and quickly. We were done
yeah,
normally by 7, 8 o'clock at night, something like
yeah,
that. It was
no, totally.
it was so much fun, and that leads me to what's going on with the carpet scene. This is everybody used to hate it and think that it was a fad and it was going away, but we've got what, three carpet tracks in the Northwest here now, and um, they all seem to be doing quite well. You've got the carpet Nats, the JCon carpet Nats now. The Worlds, a couple, was it 2 years ago, where it was on carpet or turf.
It was 2015 was on turf. Yeah,
It's really, it used to be a thing in Europe and England and that kind of stuff. The UK for years, and everybody kind of laughed at it and thought it was
right.
silly. But now, um, I think people are starting to see that the more that they've run on it and they get a handle on it, because if your car is not set up properly on carpet, it really is not a whole lot of fun.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
but once your car's set up and you kind of get your head wrapped around it, it really is a lot of fun. It's fast. There's a lot of grip. There's no tire games. Very little tire games, I should say. Um,
Yeah,
it's clean. You're inside. It's warm. Um, the racing is super close, which causes other problems all in itself. But uh, it's really really a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. We've you mentioned Die Hard's outdoor turf track. You were out there today. Um,
right.
that's that is going to be one of the places to race this summer for sure.
Yeah,
I raced last year out there on their turf track all summer, and I fell in love with it. It's kind of got a little bit of character like the dirt track a little bit, because there's some bumps underneath the carpet or underneath the turf, but you
yeah.
have you have the grip of the carpet almost. So it's kind of a
Oh
combination
yeah.
of the both, and it's a good size. You're out in the sun. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, it's awesome. I think what you finally got everyone to turn over on the carpet and turf, the artificial surfaces subject, was that I think they realized that people, they don't really have a choice, because clay was proving to really. I think people were burnt out on clay, and it was not really sustainable for the tracks. I think Tacoma in our area is kind of a niche in itself because it's got its own group of dedicated racers that and that's just that's its own little world down there for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
Tacoma seems to be doing okay. Um,
yeah,
I spent a bunch of time down there this fall racing on the clay,
right,
preparing. Just kind of on the whim, decided and got accepted to go to Reedy race. So I spent a bunch of time. My first time really ever spending much time on a clay track, and they have
right.
they have a good scene down there with a lot of good people, and they seem to be doing quite well. But I can understand how uh, difficult it is for a track owner to convince a landlord to bring in a bunch of dirt and moisture
Oh
and
yeah,
all that kind of stuff, because it's dusty, it's dirty. It's a completely different game. So I can
yeah.
understand why we don't see more of that.
It was you know, my thing was from years of racing at Mike's RC World. We used to have a track up on the border in Bellingham. It's gone now. The track part of it is they're still their main business is still there as a airport shuttle service, but my thing was is I hated there was and there still is, I think, a lot in the clay world. There was a huge tire game issue, right? I hated trying to figure out tires. I hated saucing. I hated trying to figure out when to sauce. It was just silly. I hated how that was just what my whole race day could or could hinge on. My car could feel perfect, my first 4 runs of the day, but I didn't sauce quite enough, or I sauced too much for the main, and the track's a completely different story, and I'm out to lunch. It's just I hated it, and that was a really you don't have the temperament and the patience when you're 13, 14 to really try and to hone your skills onto that kind of environmental change.
Well, I'm 44 and I don't have the patience or the tenacity to do that.
Fair
I
enough.
did it for a few months, and by the time the Reedy race was over, I'm burnt out on that. That was, man. I have a stack of tires sitting here from preparing for Reedy race, and
Oh yeah, tire prep is just crazy.
it was
And
ridiculous. I
yeah.
just I hated all the tire prep and the tire games and the sauce and the this and that and everything else. I just couldn't. I'm in no hurry to go back onto the clay at this point. I'm kind of over it.
Oh, totally. If there's ever, in recent, in recent time, been a real threat to racing anywhere, I really do think it has been that tire issue where, you know, how are you supposed to bring people into this and have them even remotely understand what's going on? After Reedy, I mean, tire prep is always a big deal there. And then a Desert Classic this year, now people are busting out tire warmers and just nuts.
They're very, very strict about control tires. Spec tire, um,
Right,
spec sauce. You can only use their sauce at their tire station. Their saucing station.
right,
All this kind of stuff. So um, I played by the rules. I went, and they don't give you your actual tires until the track is closing on Wednesday night, which is the night of the day of practice. So you practice on your own tires, and then you get your race tires as the track is closing. So you go back to your hotel room and glue them. Okay,
right,
no problem. You're not allowed to use any other sauce other than their sauce. So you go back to your hotel room, you glue them up, you bag them, you put them in the bag, and you go to the track in the morning and you put sauce on them. Their sauce,
right.
right? So, okay, so I do that. I put the tires on. I go out for my first practice run. I'm out there driving on ice. There's no sanding allowed of the tires, nothing. I'm driving
Right.
on ice. Well, okay, that's fine. Everybody should be driving on ice too, right? Sure. Well, there's guys out there doing wheelies on their first run. First run, doing wheelies.
Yeah.
So, you know, that brings me to the whole spec tire thing where it's supposed to even the playing field, and it really doesn't. It doesn't. If
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
if I went into that race doing the same tire prep as I had learned to do here in Tacoma, I would probably have been much better off. And it goes
Sure.
for a lot of people um, from a whole lot of tracks. They kind of do their tire prep the way they do their tire prep. They know what works for their particular brand of tires. And I even ran Proline tires all fall before the Reedy race, which were the spec tire for 2-wheel drive. So the tire itself was not unfamiliar to me.
Right.
But when you start to control the tires and the preparation of the tires, um, you have to go all the way and either impound them.
Uh huh.
You pretty much have to impound the tires if you're going to uh, dictate any other tire rules,
Yeah.
because
No,
there's going to
I
be
completely agree.
people who will find every loophole, and those of us that play by the rules get screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not trying to make excuses for my poor performance at Reedy race, but that sure had a big part in it.
Absolutely, that is absolutely the heart of the issue with the spec tire thing, and people seem to think it's this end all. When people talk about the quote unquote tire game of eight skill racing, which I think is kind of funny, but it's out of control. And it's at the core of it, it's not fun. But yeah, you give out these these handout tires, right? Then you let people take them. They're away from the facility. You can only imagine what's happening to those tires in the, I don't know, the 10 hours, probably longer than that before they make it onto the track.
Exactly. Yep.
They can't control that.
And
And so, yeah.
I found out later what people were doing, but um, it's not legal as per their rules,
Right.
and those of us that chose to follow the rules were at an immediate disadvantage. Where having a spec tire and a controlled, trying to do a controlled situation like that is supposed to even the playing field. Well, it made the situation even worse.
Yeah, no, totally. That's the only thing you could do is you'd have to impound and inspect those tires every time they're off the track and before they even get on there in the first place.
Well, they you had to go through tech every time before you hit the track, um,
Right.
and they would check for the stamps that they burned into the sidewalls of the tires. That's the
Right.
only thing that they're checking.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have rules for different things and different sauces and this kind of stuff, then you need to tech for all of that, and it's obviously impossible to do that unless you're impounding the tires, which I've seen done. I went to the Reedy on road race one year, and they were impounding tires. They're actually impounding tires for the invite drivers at the Reedy race too. So
Right.
why not do it for everybody?
Oh, totally.
So,
I
and that it comes down to the carpet racing. There's far less tire games, although I hear about people using sauce and that kind of thing now, which I don't understand
Yeah.
completely. But um, you know, this JCon Carpet National Series, they've got a spec tire for their series, and they say it's to level the playing field. Well, what about all of us that haven't run on JCon tires before? Who has the advantage
Right.
now? That's not leveling the playing field.
No, totally.
That's completely going the opposite direction of leveling the playing field. It doesn't make any sense, except for the person selling the tires.
No, totally, and I think that's always what it ends up being about in the end. My thing has always just been like I don't think spec tires solve anything. I was at there was the invite race in the I don't remember what it's called, but it's the invite race in the fall, October sometime, at Northwest Hobbies down in Albany. I went to that in 2016. It was an abysmal experience for me. And but it was a controlled tire race. Um, they gave us I think they gave us two sets of handouts for that weekend. Um, but what we figured out was that was going to get you two runs, and after that it was, well, cool. Now we're these once these tires lose their edge, we're throwing these tires away. We're buying new ones every race. I don't even want to think about how much I spent in tires that weekend. And I broke out of most of my runs. Like I didn't, it wasn't good. But that was the whole thing. I was like, well, what was the point? I could have at least prepared for this a little bit, but it didn't matter because the guys that they'd brought in, Evans, Cavalieri, Rivkin, stuff like that, it doesn't matter. They're not paying for them. They're throwing new ones on every race, and they're throwing out invite and dominating, and that it is what it is there. you know. And then the J Concepts guys who are there, they don't have to worry about it because they came prepared. They just got to get their sticker.
That's right. Yep.
You know.
It doesn't level the playing field because it's unless it's a tire that nobody else has ever run on, then it all it is doing is tilting the scales to the guys who have run those tires for a lot before the race.
Yeah. No, totally. If you want to level the playing field, ban sauce. Get rid of it. Like I think that it really has to, indoor racing really needs to grow past the sauce factor. It's absolutely crazy to me that people are starting to sauce on carpet. I think that right there is, that's always the biggest the biggest thing that really turns me away from that scene is, especially Clay was like, it's just stupid. You have to sit there and smell it, breathe it. Even if it's not hazardous, it doesn't make the environment any better. And then I hate how the competition has to come to that. And then, yeah, when you have these spec tire events like Reedy, like some of those JCon races, it's pointless. It's absolutely pointless, and it completely like you said, you did months of prep going into that race, and it was almost, tire wise, it was useless because what it did is it forced people to, they wanted to push the envelope, they wanted to look outside of the box for solutions, because that meant more to them, for their finish than just being at that race, abiding by the rules, and experiencing Reedy, which is what I think should always be the staple of going to a race like that. I think I've put in for that almost every year. I've never gone to go.
Exactly.
Um,
That's what I've done. I've put in every year, and miraculously this year I got picked to go, and I went into it with no expectations for results. Like that.
oh sure, you can't. Yeah, for something like that, you just can't.
Yeah, I just wanted to experience it, go and have fun. The nice thing about doing poorly is you're done on Saturday and you have all Sunday to eat tacos and watch some awesome racing.
Exactly. That's not the worst thing ever. I went to Silver State 2 years ago. It was the last one they had at RC Tracks Las Vegas, and yeah, I was able to be done on Saturday, and I was kind of bummed. I was like, man, I flew all the way down here, and I'm not gonna get to race on the final day. Man, that was the nicest day all week because I got to just sit there in the bleachers, watch all these guys run, help out. I had so much fun that day, and it was just so stress free. You really got to turn it into when you fly somewhere like that, or travel anywhere beyond your normal distance. You really have to remember that it's just the experience of the event, and it sounds really cliche, because at the end of the day, it's just it's most of the time it's just another race, but you have so much more fun, with that outlook. I preach that to everyone.
I had a blast at Reedy. It really was a lot of fun, regardless of the outcome, um,
Sure.
and the tire situation, which was a negative for me. But outside of that, it really was a lot of fun being able to run on a track like that. That's world class, and it was seeing everybody, old friends, new friends, people I've never met in person, that kind of thing.
Right.
It was a lot of fun, and it was worth every penny.
That's awesome, and that's what you want out of an experience like that. And I think that's it's you. I hope that events like that continue to stick around and continue to be sort of these tourism points for the hobby. I think it needs it. I hate to see controversy like that come over it. I hated to see the tire warmers at Desert Classic. I think that that's a big thing they need to figure out is we need to find a solution to the tire voodoo. It's crazy, but I think that it's clay where it's really the issue right now. I think that's where carpet has a big advantage. Is that uh, we proved we proved this year at Die Hard, you don't need to tire prep. You bought those tires, you glued them, you threw them out. Some people, replace them every couple races. Some people did every race day. And that's just a wear issue, right? Some tires, would really fall off, and you just needed to. But I don't think. I think it was in the right direction of people were going just trying different things instead of, well, hey, let's sauce it. Let's see you cut this, cut that, whatever kind of goofy prep they can do. And I think that's true in a lot of places. So I would like to see more of that.
I'm gonna have to do more research into why people are saucing on carpet. Um, I don't think it has as much to do with trying to get more grip. There's more to it that I haven't looked into because I have so much grip. Oh my gosh, most people have way too
Oh
much
yeah,
grip. So
yeah. Most of that's just tuning grip out of the car. Especially before all these cars came out that were really geared towards these artificial surfaces, which I think is another reason why people are starting to like it more now, is that now there's equipment that's suited for it here in the States. But yeah, I would love to know why that is. I would really like to know what their science, quote unquote, is behind the sauce, and why they're doing that. And seems to be an inflammatory subject somewhere. But yeah, I don't want it to happen. And even if there is legitimate reasoning and science behind it, I don't care. I don't want to see it. I just put your tires on the car and run it.
I don't think there's any need for it, especially on carpet.
Yeah.
On
Oh,
clay,
totally.
yeah, maybe, but on carpet, definitely not. There's no need for sauce.
I would like to see people just explore track preparation instead of in a substitute for the tire preparation for clay. That's what I would like to see. I just want to see at least tracks try it. And so that's something I would like to see more of. Just real quick, speaking of Lyle, and this isn't necessarily a local thing, but I wanted to mention it anyways, and I know you had it pegged for tonight, to talk about. But the Hobby Action Raceway, most people know it, down in Arizona. I think it's in Phoenix, isn't it? Yeah, it's in Phoenix. They were one of the, I guess they are one of the tracks with a very deep stock class scene. And anyone that knows me knows that I have a little bit of ill will towards a lot of the stock classes, because I quite frankly, I think they're abused. But
I think that's a good way of putting it.
yeah, and that's always been my thought. That's been my opinion and belief on it. There's a lot of people that disagree with me on that, and my point I feel even stronger about that point after racing a lot of stock this year, at least stock four wheel. But
I'm gonna put something else in here. Um, I there is a need, and a lot of people love running stock. Um, there's a
yeah,
need for stock. If people want to run stock, yeah, we got to have that class. People want to be able to, find the half of a tenth of a second by doing this or doing that. That is great, but stock should not be a stepping stone from novice. That's where I have the problem.
sure,
Stock can be its own class, and that's perfectly fine. Those guys that want to run stock, great. You want to spend the money, the $150, $200 on a motor, uh, the battery of the month, this kind of thing.
yeah,
Go for it. But when people are coming out of novice and they have to go and run in stock with that kind of competitive uh, atmosphere and that kind of money being spent, that's where I have the problem.
sure,
There
no, absolutely,
there needs to be something in between, and not all tracks are going to be able to do this because they don't have the numbers to do it.
yeah,
Somewhere like Die Hard, it's going to work out absolutely perfect. And I know where you're going with this is the 17.5 versus 21.5
yeah,
stock class. I think that there absolutely needs to be at a lot of tracks there needs to be somewhere for novice racers to step into, other than the lion's den, which is stock racing.
yeah, totally.
And we're going,
That's yeah,
we lose so many racers that come and try things out, come and try out racing, and then they realize once they're in stock that, um, they're getting yelled at, they're getting crashed into, they're having to spend so much money on motors and tires and this sort of thing,
oh, it's
and
crazy,
that they
yeah,
quit. We lose a lot of people from the hobby because there's nowhere for them to race because they don't have the skills, they don't have the driving skills, they don't have the setup skills, that sort of thing. And then at that point, it's not fun anymore.
yeah,
They lose the fun aspect of it and they quit, and
yeah,
that is a big part of uh, why this hobby hasn't grown the way it should.
No, totally. I agree, and that's my whole thing is like I used to say that stock should be that stepping stone. I've turned around on that a little bit in light of the 21.5 thing, and because that's where that's where I was going because and that's why I mentioned Hobby Action in the first place because they put out a thing recently on their Facebook page saying that they're getting rid of their they have a split 17.5 class. They have an expert and they have a sportsman, right? And there was a lot of not a lot of people were happy about this. It seemed to be a kind of a 50-50 split. A lot of people were happy about it. That's something they wanted to see. Other people were pretty upset about it. As far as their local scene goes, and that was the people that were upset about it were a lot of it I see were the sportsman racers because they didn't want to have to race with the super fast hardcore stock guys, and I totally understand why. It stock to me, like my experience with stock racing has just not been fun. And if that's your idea of fun, all of that all those factors that you mentioned, that's awesome, that's great for you. That's where I think this 21.5 class is going to benefit. I would because and it's not like they're it's not like they're turds out there. Like they're pretty decent cars. They look fun. I saw a lot of them in action today, and it was awesome on the turf track. And we keep seeing them in our novice classes as well. But that's what I'd love to see 21.5 turn into. And then from there, if you want, I went straight from, I never raced novice, but I raced two-wheel short course, and then I went into mod buggy after I got out of my short course phase. I think, me personally, that was the best thing I ever could have done, not messing around with stock or, any other lower competition classes at the time, right? Because at the time, that's what it was in our area.
Yeah,
But that's what I'd love to
you
see
just
happen in
jumped in and
21.5.
bit the bullet, and you sucked for a little while until you got a handle on it. And
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I learned so much more that way than I feel like I would have if I would have spent time in novice, if I would have gone through a stock class, especially since that was really the time where stock was starting to transition to what it's kind of become now, where it's just this really hardcore close racing. You see some awesome racing in the stock class. I hate how sometimes it's really money driven, and I hate the intensity. It is not fun racing for me.
yeah, I see a lot more intensity at a club level in stock than I do in modified.
Oh
Um,
yeah, oh yeah,
there's it's
totally.
very cutthroat, and try to win it on the first lap kind of thing, and it's far more yelling and screaming in stock classes than I see in modified.
Yeah, oh totally. And that was I got the first hand experience this last weekend because we don't have at Die Hard RC we don't have a mod 4-wheel drive class anymore, which was personally upsetting to me because I loved that class, but I totally understand why that class doesn't exist. I totally get it, but so I was in the 13.5 4-wheel drive. I had a kind of a rough day, so I was in the B and then bumped up to the A. And then I was in the mod 2-wheel drive buggy A. Neither of those races went particularly my way, but I was at least able to settle on that the mistakes that did happen, they were totally self-induced. But I had so much more fun in mod because the racing was so much cleaner and the attitudes were so much better. Everyone was smiling on the stand, having a good time in mod. We're laughing, and after some of the most intense racing we experienced all weekend, trying to.
Even in mod, you get sometimes where you get a little angry with somebody, but
It happens, yeah,
for the
totally.
most part,
But
it stays on the stand, and everyone's laughing afterwards. Or
exactly where it's like, and my experience in that stock main was like, I'm in, I was in fifth. I was defending fifth at the end, and I have no idea who it was, right? But this was a common occurrence throughout the day where it was just if there was someone behind me, and I'm not a great stock racer, so it's pretty tricky for me to be competitive in that class. But if I've got someone behind me, it just every time it was just hey, let's throw a tire in here. Oops, we hit him. Let's bump him. All right, they're out of their line. All right, cool. We're gonna go. Like, there's no patience in that class. Absolutely none. And that has always frustrated me. And hey, like I said, if that's your idea of fun, be it. I think that's where this 21.5 class is going to thrive, because then I think it's not going to scare people away. My only worry, I don't think it's going to happen, but I am a little bit worried. I don't want 21.5 to become that. I don't want to see all of these guys jumping into 21.5 with these, super lightweight cars and everything else, because that was happening in 17.5. That's where it's at now. I really don't want to see that happen. We'll see what happens.
Why not raise the minimum weight on the 21.5 class? Raise it
That
up.
would be nice.
Then there's no
Yeah.
spending crazy money on silly stuff. You know,
Yep.
that would alleviate
Minimum
that
weight would
part
be
of it.
good.
Maybe have a spec motor. Everyone's got
Yeah.
to run a Hobby Wing or a McLaren or whatever brand the track chooses,
Sure.
and have it one of those fixed timing $30 or $40 whatever they are motors, like back in the day. Stock motors were $27 or something like that, $30.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you still find find some of those 21.5s pretty cheap too, and I'd love to see something like that. Um,
because you're going to
we'll see.
see $150 $200 21.5 motors, which doesn't solve any problems at all.
Yeah, and that's my whole thing is like I don't want to see that, and then have there be all this controversy, of you know what is has it gone too far, these manufacturers really pushing the limits on the 21.5 thing. I if it happens that way, the way it happened to 17.5 and 13.5, then we're going to be in some trouble. But hopefully until that, if that does happen, I think we have some time before then. I'm really excited to see how that pans out for us locally. I know for me, like personally, I kind of I've been trying to encourage encourage my girlfriend to get into it, right? And I think the 21.5 is a perfect start, right? And that was like the perfect speed, because I started thinking about this, like maybe that's a little too fast, and I think that's where a lot of people are going to be feeling like if they're trying to get people they know into it, what a better start. I think that's better than just going out picking up a slash and jumping into novice, totally, or rustler or whatever the case. So
It all
I'm
depends
excited
on
to
the
see what
person.
happens.
I've seen some people go out and be able to do a lap without crashing, and I see other people that go out on their first time and they're pinballing from one wall to the next all the way down the straightaway. Well,
Right.
there's two different people, two different situations where takes them a little bit longer to get the hand-eye coordination
Sure.
to maneuver the car around the track, and you don't want somebody like that in in 21.5, you know, kind of ruining other
Totally.
people's races. I don't know
No,
how to put
totally.
it nicely.
Yeah,
That's
no,
kind of where novice
no,
is.
but you're absolutely right. I think that, and that's my whole thing. It's like I hope that proves itself to be the proverbial stepping stone.
Yeah,
Um,
but I also hate creating pro stock, regular stock, sportsman, novice at a track where you only have 20 racers in all those, in stock
yeah,
period, and you're splitting them up into four classes. You get five people racing in each class every day or every week or
it's not
whatever,
fun.
and then that gets boring as well.
Oh, that's not fun.
A place like Die Hard where you've got, man, I can't even count between novice and stock. You definitely have enough people where you could have that intermediate class,
Right.
and maybe call it intermediate or beginner. You have novice, beginner, and then instead of calling stock pro stock because it makes people's heads swell, um,
Yeah.
call that intermediate, and then call mod expert or something along those lines. Change the names of the classes. Maybe that would help shrink some heads. But that's just
Oh,
my two
totally.
cents.
That would be really nice to see. Hopefully that'll happen in the future. But for now, I think Die Hard is heading in the right direction there. I'm hoping a lot of other places start following suit.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing a great
So
job.
yeah, definitely. So we'll see. I think that's going to be nice to be out there this summer while we're running nitro. At the dirt tracks, it's going to be nice to have a bit of both. Um, pretty thrilled to see the way that our local scene is growing, um, and the progress that's been made, um, especially for Die Hard after their theft. It's been awesome to see how they bounce back. Just absolutely killer.
Yep. Thanks to the donations of companies like Associated and
Oh
a
yeah,
few others that have stepped up, and personal donations. The personal donations, we I was on the backside of uh, the GoFundMe, so
yeah, yeah.
I got to see um, who was donating what, and it was amazing to see the names and the people donating money. Like people that I know um, have a hard time donating. Not have a hard time donating, but um, the money they donated was it was important to them. It was
Totally.
people that were maybe a little harder off, and the money they donated was it probably meant going without something else for a couple weeks.
Oh sure. No, totally. I looked at some of those donations and it was crazy. I couldn't believe the amount of support that rallied behind them, and yet I went through the public list there. I don't know if it's any different on the back end, but I went through the public list and it was awesome. I absolutely loved seeing that.
It was great to see so many people, so many names I recognized, and so many I didn't, which kind of surprised me.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing. I was like, a lot of it was like, man, who are these people? They donated a lot. Like, that's awesome. Like,
Maybe they were from the drone side, because I don't know many of the people from the drone side of things.
right. Me neither. Yeah.
It was amazing to see so many people helping out, and I think that's a testament to the community that they've built, and the
Totally.
amount of
Totally.
love that they exude for everyone else, and it's just coming back.
No, absolutely. And I'm really hoping that we get to have Brett on, on the podcast soon as a guest. I think that would be absolutely fantastic, to be able to really get into get into everything about where they're at with the program. I know they're always planning. They've always got something going on, and they're always so many steps ahead. It's been awesome to talk to them individually. Um, that is someone we definitely have on our radar to have on here, and I know we've talked to him a little bit, and he said he'd be down. We just have to figure out when. So that's gonna be pretty awesome if we can make that work.
They've changed the game, so to speak.
Yeah,
They've
absolutely,
they have
absolutely.
they have upped the bar for all RC tracks in the Northwest, all RC communities in the Northwest. They have, and I'd love to learn how they've actually done it. It would be really
Yeah, because I
interesting
mean, I
to.
sit here and think about it all the time, and just how different it is. But I couldn't sit here and tell you
Right, right.
why it works so well.
I
I
can't put
really
my
couldn't.
finger on one particular thing. It's so many things, I think, and it'll be interesting to hear from Brett and Brenda, their story and how they've done it, because it really is. The rest of the country, which I know we're not going to get out to very far,
Sure.
but um, so many tracks all over the country could learn from what they're doing, and it's incredible. It's a really cool story, and they've built a community that is amazing. I haven't seen it in 30 something years in RC, traveling, living all over the country in two different countries and racing RC. I've never seen what they're doing.
Oh yeah, me neither. And I'm excited just to see it continue. And I'm glad that they're enjoying doing it too. It doesn't seem to be too much of a burden on them. It looked like so much fun
Well, they're
for
retired.
today.
Come on. What do you mean it's not a burden? Brett,
Right.
Brett, what? Yeah, I know they're busy and all, but come on. We're playing toy cars today, Brett.
Yeah. Hey, and the I was
They
we
deserve
were out
every.
there with the dinner today. No, totally, absolutely. We were out there today. Dinner they put on, and a little fun day on the track after they put the new layout, and they rolled all the gravel, so that the track's about as smooth as I think they could get it right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's still it's still got some character,
I liked it with
definitely.
all that character.
It's still fun. Yeah, you still got bumps here and there. I definitely had to raise the ride height today, so it doesn't. No, it's not gone by any means, but it's better than it kind of was after the winter. Um, and we were out there and just experiencing this, and my partner takes a turn, looks around, and they look back at me and they're like, this is just so nice. This is this is awesome. I want to come out here every week.
Yeah, the setting,
Right.
the location of the track, and you don't hear a freeway nearby. Um,
Oh yeah.
it's beautiful. It's all grass. You got the airfield right next to you. You got the drones over here. It's all green and beautiful. It's
It's killer. I do recommend to anybody that's um, you know check out Die Hard RC with their their Facebook page. They've got a schedule up soon, I think. If it's not up already, take a look at their page and look for some of their outdoor events. Their outdoor track is wicked. And just the setting. It's been in the middle of farmland. It's about a little under 10 minutes out of town, I think. It's really not far, but take a look at that. If you can make it out there for a race or just practice nights, I know Tuesday nights are going to be a regular thing out there. Come out and do it. If you're in the area, if you're not, as local as as Everett or the greater Seattle area. If you ever if you ever do make your way up, or just plan a club race, come up for a day. It's absolutely awesome. There's no environment like it. It's been an absolute blast.
I'm really hoping this year that some of the indoor enthusiasm and racers carry over to the outdoor turf track.
Oh, totally, totally.
I know
That is, I'm hoping the same.
they grew quite a bit last year outdoors, um, but with the renewed indoor series this year and how successful that was, I really hope that a lot of it carries over to the outdoor because I know Brett and Brenda will be putting every effort into the races that
Oh
they
yeah.
have indoors. So um, check out their outdoor track because it is one of my favorite tracks ever. It is so much fun.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute blast. I do want to talk, on now that we're getting into local events a little bit. As far as the summer goes, let's talk some NCT.
Yeah.
So, um, this is going to be year two, right under. It's gonna be the first full year under what Brian Phillips running the show. I think is it's gonna be a first full season, right?
I don't think he was. I think he RD'd a couple times last year, and I think that was the extent of his involvement.
Right.
And he took over as the leader of the pack. Apparently, I think it's called. This
Whatever it's officially called. I'm still the the organization of the NCTs has always been something that has been a little peculiar to me, as far as how they just how it all seems to work, how it all seems to come together. I'm looking, he I wasn't racing at the time that he was doing it, or at least it was just ending. But I know, for anyone who doesn't know who Brian Phillips is, way back, about a decade ago or so, there was there's a lot of clay tracks in the area at the time, and so he ran the ECTs. I think that's what they're called, right? The ECTs. And so it's this sort of winter indoor series between all of these indoor tracks up above the I-5 corridor. I started racing like after Marty Barnes took it over and it became like the Pacific Northwest Showdown or whatever it was. That's like when I got into it. But that was, I always hear a lot of like back in the day stories, of the ECTs and how much fun they were, and a lot of memorabilia surrounding them, and I hear a lot of positive things from that area, and so I'm really excited, and through a lot of conversations with Brian, I'm really excited for his energy and his perspective coming into the NCTs. Wildy and company did a great job for years, and I feel like that with Wildy, doing his own thing now, since he's no longer the series director. Um, After the first year, last year started off a little bit rocky, um, and through a couple of regime changes, and just things just transpiring the way they did. Also, social media coverage last year was really not good. I heard nothing anywhere ever about any of those races, and I wasn't racing a lot last year, but I'm still pretty active on social media, and I saw nothing. I'm really hoping that's improved this year for the sake of the series. But it seemed like there was some doubt after last season about the direction of the NCTs. It seems like I people trying to reminisce a little bit as far as like, oh well, this is, and not really being open to a change coming forward. I'm really hoping that people give Brian the the least opportunity to to come out and give everyone an awesome series, to have his mark on it, and to do because he's going to do everything he can to make it right for everybody. There's a lot of changes coming into this year as far as classes and stuff like that, and a lot of people, including myself, were a little skeptical of some of those changes. But I'm really excited to see what I'm excited to see new. I'm excited to see fresh, and that's what it needed. Absolutely no knock on what Wildy was doing with the NCTs, but I'm excited to see something different, because
I've talked a lot with Brian over the last few months, and he has the racers' best interest in mind. He wants to make it
sure,
the most fun experience that people can have for the NCTs, and not taking anything away from Justin. He did a fantastic job of running a very smooth, well oiled machine. Um, but
yeah, absolutely,
times change. Just like our talk about the 21-5, 17-5 thing,
yeah,
times change, and there becomes a need for some changes every once in a while with the class changes and that sort of thing. Um, he does want to make it the most fun for as many people as he can, and things like the 40 plus class. Well, a lot of people are against that, but it's
it's a divisive subject.
yeah. There's one way to look at it, or there's the wrong way to look at it. So, um, but it's uh, stuff like that. They've implemented the 40 plus class for this year. It's going to be a full time class, and well, just stuff like that. You, you look at the entries in each class, and you have to
Yeah.
determine whether it's worth keeping or not. And the 40 plus class, the entry level every race that they had it was high enough to justify keeping it. And
Oh,
that's
totally.
just one of the little things, but um, he wants to do more than just these little things. He wants to make more changes. Like um, a lot of us feel that we spend so much time qualifying. We spend way too much qualifying and not enough
Yeah.
time racing. Um,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
I think Brian's on the same page as far as those thoughts. Um, it's something where he tried doing something a little different at his winter race, the Winter Rage,
Yeah.
and there was more heads up racing and less qualifying, and from the sounds of it, people enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
I didn't make it to that race as it was right around Reedy time, but um, from the sounds of it, the feedback was positive. So I'm hoping personally that some of that carries over to our NCT racing at some point. I know it won't be this
Yeah.
year. It won't be this year. It's not going to happen. There's going to be a lot of people to win over for that kind of concept.
Yeah. No, absolutely. My thing as far as the qualifying goes is that I think a lot of people can agree on one thing, on what qualifying is, and it's boring. Qualifying blows. I hate spending 12 hours at a track to run 3 times, to run a timed run. Personal thing for me, because I drive way different in qualifying than I do in races. I've always been a better racer. But even in the days I've qualified, it sucks. I hate it. And if you're trying to grow the sport, not only for racers but for spectators, if you have people like we keep referencing Die Hard. I just want to do it real fast, but they have a lot of people that show up locally to their races that have never touched an RC car in their life.
Oh, it's amazing how many people walk through their doors and
Yeah,
have
and
never
it's
seen it before.
and that's just it though, is that there are a bunch of those people without going around asking what's going on. They have no idea what's happening on that track. And a good chunk of those people, whether sometimes just general interest, but sometimes you never see them again, right? And qualifying is really hard from a race director standpoint to make exciting. I've tried and tried and tried and tried, and I cannot do it. But because it sucks, you're throwing times out there. The only thing you can really tell people is like, well, don't race each other, which is it's not what you want as a racer, but that's the most anti-spectator thing you can say. And also too, with qualifying with the way it is, and IFMAR qualifying, instead of a heads up style, it is why races start so badly, because no one knows how to start them, because you get one race start out of the 3 days you're there. If you had, I guess if you had a good weekend, right? But even most people are only going to get that one race start per class, and if that's it. And for some people, they just don't know any better. They don't race in that close proximity. They've never had to do that. That's something that Tacoma has always done, that I've always really loved, is the few times I have been down there, they've done heads-up qualifying every time I've been there. It's so much better. And it sorts itself out so much faster than IFMAR does. It doesn't matter how many cars are on the track, and how much time you give in between them. If you just start everyone at the same time, your cars, your cars aren't going to get tangled up as fast. They're going to be cleaner starts, and it's going to be spectator friendly, and it's just more fun. I don't, people always say, oh, my times are as good. It depends on the sort. I don't care. Figure it out on the track, just like you have to if you're coming up on a car that you're lapping in IFMAR. It's the same thing. And to sit there and to sit there and get rid of it, and dismiss the notion that that's a bad idea because of the certain implications it might have on your individual run. IFMAR is no better. The difference is you've been doing IFMAR for however long. And I think it is, and that is why, like, some of these big races, Silver State's coming up next year, or not, I'm sorry, next month, Jesus. And, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't see anyone there that sticks around on Saturday. Or not Saturday, but, during the week, maybe even a little bit on Saturday. But it's like, because no one's going to know what's going on. And that's just been my gripe, and I would love to see the NCTs transition to that. That has been, like, if I could have a wish list item for the NCT, heads up. I don't care how you sort it, is seating times or not, practice day, I don't care. Just put heads up in, because the racing on Sunday is going to get so much better, and you are going to see so many more smiles on Saturday, regardless of what people say. I can guarantee that.
Up at Skagit last year, they tried it a couple times, something different. They did one qualifier and then two complete rounds of mains. So let's say in your
Yeah, yeah, I
in your
remember
one
that.
qualifier, you qualified in the C main. Just throwing it out as an example.
Yeah,
So you get to the mains, your first main, and it goes through and they do the D main, and then they do the two bumps into the C main, and
yeah,
you get to do the bump into the B main, and let's say you get to bump into the A main again right after
yeah,
that. It's a complete round of mains, right? Exactly like what we run now. And then
yeah.
after that complete round of mains is done, we start over and do another complete round of mains. So
Same call spot and everything.
yeah, so your qualifying spot is still the same as it was in the first round. So if you have to start in the C main again, sorry about your luck, but you get all this extra track time and all these chances to bump into the A each time, and your average finish from both rounds is what's calculated for the overall.
Yeah.
It's more racing, it's less qualifying, it's way more fun.
And that is it. That's the big thing. It is the couple races I was there for that. It was just awesome, and it was so much fun, and everyone had a blast. It was awesome because I think we did it during a night race once 2 years ago, and that was absolutely killer.
It
I
was
loved that.
insane. It was so much fun. So
Yeah.
much fun. You get to run two mains.
Yep.
Two
It was
mains.
killer. No, I would love to. I'd love to see that happen more. I don't expect. Obviously, we won't see that with the NCTs ever, but club race wise, that is the way to go.
I think
The
it should be
qualifying.
implemented everywhere. What other form of motorsports do you see that spends way more time qualifying than it does on the actual race?
That is true. That
No,
is
no
very
other
true.
motorsport. Maybe drag racing. Maybe drag
Yeah.
racing, but other than that, what else do you see that spends more time qualifying?
No, totally. I'm in the same boat there. I think it sucks. To a certain degree, it's necessary, but you can make it better than what it is.
Well, it's
Um,
necessary because oh, I wasn't ready. I need another chance.
yeah.
No, have your stuff ready. Be ready to go for that first qualifier, and if you suck, then you're starting at the back. But you
Yep.
have the
No,
chance to
totally.
bump up, just like sprint car racing, stock car racing. I don't care what it is. You have the chance to bump up if you're not ready for qualifying.
No, totally. As I say, I think there's a lot of different things you could do, but there needs to. That's where if you want to innovate anything on the on the multi-day race side, um, that's what I would like to see. Even on club races, I think if Mars sucks, get out there with heads up. I would love to see that at Die Hard next year. I don't know if that'll happen, but heads up next year would be absolutely fantastic. I'm really hoping we do that.
Yeah,
So we'll see what
for
happens.
sure, for sure. Oh, so predictions for Silver State? You got any?
Let's see. I feel like it's gonna be another Mayfield fest.
Oh man, I you had to pick.
I have that feeling. I don't think he'll sweep it, but I think there's a buggy win and at least a second somewhere else. I'm pretty sure he'll podium all of them, but I think he's gonna take buggy. That's I have that feeling this weekend.
I got
Is
Mayfield
what.
in Nitro Buggy, Nitro Truggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mayfield's on it right now. He's somebody lit a fire under his ass, and he's on it.
Oh yeah, it is. It's crazy.
I don't know who's going to be there as far as the Euro contingent. I don't think we'll see the Euro contingent that we had at DNC.
No, I think I don't know if it's the same weekend it was last year, hence why it happened. Um, I think the Philippine Masters are the same weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 'cause that's what it was last weekend or last
The
year.
Philippine Masters is the first race of the RCGP.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm excited to see how that turns out individually. We'll get to that in a minute, but that's gonna. I'm really excited for that. But I yeah. So unfortunately, with that, you lost a couple guys because a lot of people are actually traveling to that Philippines race. And especially from Europe and a lot of parts of Asia. So yeah, you probably it seems like you never really see the Europe group staying for Silver State. I'm hoping there'll be something there. I know a couple are going to be there. I just don't know who, but yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be though a lot of your same group of your Americans and the dash of Canadian in the mains for the weekend and yeah, I feel like it's going to be Mayfield run away in the main. It seems it's always too bad because he never seems to be able to translate that to an 8 skill worlds. Because I remember he was really dominating in 2016 up leading up to the worlds in Vegas, and that absolutely did not go his way. So um, I'd be curious to see you know, if that pans out the same way this year. I hope not, but we'll find out. Or at least going, I guess it's a 10 scale worlds year, but I'd like to. I like to see him eventually make it into one that way. You usually don't want to see the same guy winning all the time, but that's one where it's like, at this point, you're like, damn it, just give him his worlds already. And that's why I think where this RCGP thing is. I'm really hoping that's the solution.
I I
Um,
am so excited for the RCGP. Um, sorry, I am really excited for the RCGP. I think this inaugural year will be um, a little sketchy, maybe, but
yeah, it's gonna be a quiet year, I think,
yeah, and I find
or
it
it'll do really well, and the year after that
correct.
will not be as good.
No, I think next year I think everybody will be on board, or a majority of people will be on board. Whereas the first year, it's a little bit iffy. But I'm
Yeah,
we're seeing these privateer teams come out,
yeah,
and
that was super
I'm
cool.
so fascinated by that because it was funny 2 weeks ago on my way down to Portland to go race down there. I was listening to the RCGP podcast, and I was thinking to myself, why why can't I start a privateer team and get a couple drivers and all this kind of stuff and enter the RCGP, knowing that
Mm-hmm.
the first year is going to be light on top level drivers.
Right.
You can go out and make a name for your team. You could get some drivers that uh, maybe haven't won a world championship or something, and have them do really well and make a name for themselves,
Yeah,
and
totally.
and really build something for the following year. And I see a couple of privateer teams doing that, and I think it's awesome. I can't wait to see how they are going to step up and be able to make it happen. Because I saw one of them actually signed Ongaro to race for them,
Yeah,
which is
the name of that team is pretty funny.
it's
I can't
awesome.
remember
It's
what it is now,
hilarious.
but yeah, and then to see that press release of that team coming out, and then to have Ankara added on after, it was perfect. It was so cool because like that's what you want. That was I think that should have been a lot bigger, a lot of a bigger deal than it was. When that came out, because that is so cool, and that is exactly what they're looking for, and that has been always my thing. And that's something I'd love to see with this. Is a lot of people in the beginning when this idea came out and they were really starting to push for the media side of it are dismissing it because of the people who had the ideas that are involved.
Oh, you're talking about
And
JQ. Let me put it out there
yeah,
right now.
yeah, and I'll be the first to admit I disagree with a lot of what that guy says. I do. Some people don't. That's totally fine. But I'm not going to sweep this under the rug because I'm not particularly fond of the guy, right? I think it's an absolutely killer idea. I think that if you were able to grow this, because it's such a, and a lot of people are scared and apprehensive because it's such a counterculture movement to what RC has become. And I would love to see it turn into some sort of, that's the thing that gets me. You have winter series, you have summer series, you have our NCTs here, you have numerous summer series across the country. Nowhere that has to pull the NCTs in terms of entries, right? You have some that have more publicity and stuff like that. Why the hell, for the absolute top level side of the things, why are we not running it as this is the 2019, championship for 8 scale nitro buggy, stuff like that. I don't understand why that is the line, right?
Yep,
And
it's crazy. We have one race every 2 years to determine a world champion.
yeah,
Really?
it's so stupid, and that's just it. It's like you see people in and I love their ideas coming onto this, and I really like they've really approached it in a MotoGP and F1 style, and I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out in terms of like the teams and stuff like that. But I think it'd be so cool, to see that expanded on, and to see them really, like you said, grow these privateer teams. People are going to root for these individually. I know I'm going to be tuning into that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can
And
if you can get one of these privateer teams up, top three, beating some of these pro drivers and stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be exciting because it adds a whole
yeah,
new element to it. Um, Not to mention possibly bringing in outside sponsors. You know, you get this privateer team that has some marketing guru, you know,
yeah,
that's able to or has a contact somewhere and gets I don't know, Target or Monster Energy or one of these companies to spend some
right.
money, and they have like JQ has with all the killer pits and the tents and the shirts, and you know
Yeah, his branding is awesome,
he does a
right?
great job with that. Really
Yeah,
good job.
totally.
And I think all of us in the industry need to do better.
And what I'd love to see it evolve into, oh, absolutely. And I think what all of it, what I'd love to see it ultimately evolve into is I would like to see more manufacturer attention, whether that be chassis, whether that be tires, whether that be servos. I would love to see it turn into a thing where, and I don't know if it will, but if I wanted to dream a little bit, right, what I would sit here and think is I'd love to see someday like the you know the team associated factory team taking place in the RCGP. I'd love to have stuff like that. Have them Serpent, HB, all these guys. I guess HB is technically one of the teams in there now, but it's still kind of the same thing. I would love to see that where it becomes it doesn't necessarily become corporate at that point, but it's just you have the attention of the brands, and so you have these you have like the associated factory team, for example, and I'm just spitballing here just because name recognition, right? You have like associated, and that team has you know uh, Proline tires and Reed Electronic, whatever case, stuff like that you associate with them, right? Stuff like that. But it'd be so cool to see just this whole team list of these brands and everything. It's like that is what that team is running, and then there's off season drama as far as if teams are changing brands, changing drivers. Like it'd be awesome. I'd love to see it move to that. I don't think it will, but that's just it, and that's an opportunity there, if absolutely nothing else. So I would, and you need that. You need that at least sort of ambition. Um, I love what they're doing. I'm super excited, and I hope it stays. But people need to put aside their views on the individuals. And because it seems to be like a love hate thing with a lot of the of JQ. Um, but people need to put that aside and just pay attention to this. You don't have to like it in the beginning. Just pay attention to it, because you might find that it might win yourself. You might win you over, and that's I want people to at least give it a chance. I know I'm going to.
I want to go race it. I want to go to the Philippines and go race and be a
That'd be
part of it.
that'd be awesome.
Oh man, if only I had the money. I'm dreaming.
Oh, exactly.
I'm dreaming because I'd be
Yeah.
there. I would be there in a second.
But that would be so cool, and I know that's where they kind of have their I said with their RC2 class and everything. Like they've really thought about this. They really have. I hope that it gets the attention and the respect that it deserves.
I I,
That's what I want.
I hope it helps people realize that we need to change. We,
Yeah,
we need
that's
we need
that's what I want
change
it
in
to
our
do.
hobby. We need change in the way we do our racing, um, and to not be so blindly against any kind of change to our format. That's what
Yeah,
I'm hoping. I'm hoping that people can see that change is not a bad thing. We've been doing the same thing for as long as I can remember in
yeah,
RC, and it's not really working. So it needs to change. And they're going down the right track and trying to do something different. And whether the particular format works or needs to be tweaked, we won't know until it all happens. But they're doing something different, and that's
sure.
the main thing.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm super excited. We'll see what happens. But I wish those guys all the best that are involved. Nothing but luck, for them coming forward. I think that, this is something that I said you need to at least rally behind the idea that there is an attempt to shift the industry for the better. I think that would be just absolutely killer. We'll see what happens though, but I'll be following that very
Oh,
closely.
I'll be watching. I'll be watching it like I watch Supercross.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah, well, it's
it's more
more
interesting
interesting
than
than
Supercross
Supercross
is
is
now,
now,
so
so
we
we
should
should
be
be
good.
good.
Yeah, that
But
one's all but done. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
no,
totally.
totally. Um, yeah, what else? What else we got here? I think we're about an hour and a half in. I don't know if there's anything we hadn't touched on yet.
I think we should probably call it a day on the first one and
Go
Go
ahead and
ahead and
wrap
wrap
her
her
up.
up.
see
Yeah,
Yeah,
where
no,
no,
see where
totally.
we
totally.
stand.
Yeah, so if you guys have any listeners out there, we'd love to hear your feedback. This is going to be an awesome journey for us. We're super excited, and we wanted to keep it Northwest focus. I know not as much of it tonight was Northwest focus, but we wanted to sort of cover the blanket of the industry right now, and I think some cool things that are coming out. As these races progress on though, and and then we got Big Barn next weekend. You know, then we'll be able to get into some Northwest topics. And, we want to hear from you guys. We're looking forward to the feedback. We're also I'm hoping that most, if not all of the guests we have are Northwest based. And if they aren't, at least names that a lot of people recognize and can relate to. Yeah, on occasion we'll probably have someone on here that maybe we'll get them some exposure as well. We'll see what happens. But I know Brett Wilson, Brian Phillips. Those are two that we're really hoping on to have on soon. And we'll try and announce that ahead of time as much as we can. But stay tuned to the page. This podcast, you can expect to find it. I'll be uploading it on Sunday nights, but it won't be a consistent time, just depending on editing. So I would check back on Mondays. Right now it'll be up on Podbean. I am working on it being available on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. iTunes and Spotify are not as easy to get through to, so it's just going to take a little bit. I hope to have that ready by next week. But so that's where we're sitting. And if you guys have any ideas as far as who you think we should have on, send them our way. We're gonna be really open about this, and we want to hear from you guys because we want to create discussion. We want to talk about it. Want to get track walk topics going, and also when races are happening, we're looking to have some content on those races as well while we're there. And depending on how the year goes for us, maybe a live podcast or two. So stay tuned. I'm really hoping we're going to be able to bring you guys some awesome content. I'm really excited about this going forward.
I'm really glad you're good at spewing this kind of stuff because I'm not. You're doing a good job on that stuff.
I listen to too many podcasts.
Oh no! Well, I want to thank everybody for listening and contributing to suggestions and topics that you wanted to hear us talk about. I hope we covered what everybody wanted to hear, and
Yeah, we won't always get to all of them, but we try and get to most.
yeah, try to keep them coming. Keep them coming. We'll always be thinking of new stuff to talk about, and hopefully mostly Northwest related. There's enough podcasts that cover the worldwide RC scene, so we'll stick with what we know and keep it within the Northwest. The best
Yeah,
racers,
absolutely.
the best racers ever.
No doubt. One thing I wanna just plug one last time before we call it here. During the week, I'm shooting for Wednesdays. Stay tuned to the Trackwalk page as always, and then Colin and myself will be sharing it. When it's posted, there will be a questions thread. Any questions that you guys have as far as we're going to be doing viewer questions basically every week. Hopefully towards the end of the show. What I want to emphasize there is that make sure the question's reasonable. We're not gonna we're trying to keep it in a reasonable listening time, so just please keep the questions reasonable, keep them appropriate. Also, if you I cannot emphasize this enough, this helps Colin, this helps myself, and it helps you get your questions answered. Please comment it on on the original post from the track walk page itself, not the shared posts from our personal pages. It just helps us keep it so much more organized, and we want to make sure your questions aren't left out. So I can't emphasize that enough. But I would expect to see that probably Wednesday of every week, and then the cutoff time will be the end of Saturday before we record. We record on Sunday nights. And if you don't quite get your question in by Saturday, I can't guarantee that it's going to make it into the show. And then, as always, check back on Monday. The podcast will be uploaded then. If for whatever reason there's an event going on, we aren't able to record, you guys are going to know ahead of time. But we're looking to, hopefully make this a weekly staple, give you guys fresh content.
Videos
Absolutely.
and that kind of stuff if there's an event going on that weekend, so you'll get tired of seeing us anyway. And no, you don't ask me what color Dave Gullickson's panties are because I don't know. So don't even ask.
Don't want to know.
Don't want to know. And finally, I got to give a shout out to Shannon and Mike for kicking my butt yesterday. That's it. Well, that's all awesome. I got.
Fantastic. Thank you, Colin, and thank you guys, everyone that's listening, tuning in for episode number 1 of the Track Walk RC podcast. A quick just blanket thank you to everyone in the Northwest that helps put our races on and contributes to the community and helps us continue to do what we do. Thank you to my partner for letting me do this every week and take plenty of time away from home to go out there and have fun with toy cars. So I'm having a lot of fun doing all this, and I'm hoping that everyone else continues to as well.
Right on. Thank you, brother.
Perfect. You got it. Thank you. And I will see everybody next week. Colin will see everyone next week. Get those questions in. Stay tuned. Again, Podbean, YouTube. That's where you're going to find us initially. And soon, Spotify and iTunes. We'll be sharing when this comes out. But keep checking back. And as always, thank you guys for listening. And we'll catch you next week.
Track walk, baby.
See you guys.